And now, from Glasgow.
So, hello, welcome to the next 3 issues of the ET. This is issue 30, and I quite like this. I haven't even opened it yet, and I really like it. The reason I like it, and I'll say this as I do the parts checklist, this is the base platform. Now, quite often, when you get large parts, you don't get much to do. If you think that about this, then you will be wrong. So this is the base plate. And we can see we've got some electrics all built in, very nice. We can see where we've got to put the battery, so I can see it's going to be running off 9 volts worth of batteries. That's 6 batteries at 1.5 volts each. And the other parts that we get is 3002, the double battery terminal, and then we get 8 PM screws, which all look something like this. And we will be using all of them. Right, so what we are going to do, and I might change this, if we turn this upside down, we need to take our battery terminal and we need to pop it into there, like so. Now, how tight does that go in is the question I've got, because spoiler alert, we are going to be turning this upside down. Now I think that's going to go in quite tight because there are some little notches on the end there, and I think what's going to happen is it's going to cut itself into there. Now listen guys, look at the pattern of the batteries. You can see that, let me get a battery, this isn't the right battery, but you can see that the positive terminal on this side are all pointing up, and we've got the spring that makes contact with the negative terminal. On this side they all go the opposite way, so that the current all flows is either that way or it's going to go that way. So we do need to make sure that that spring is on this side. So if the spring that they've already put in is on this side, then the other side goes on there. Right, so what we are going to do, and I can't think of an easiest way to do this. Oh, there we go. Just push it in guys. It actually goes in with a minimal amount of force, and I can see that this is upside down because you can see the pattern, and that is in like so. Right, so to do the next step we need to take our leg mechanisms. Now I did put mine together like this because it fits, but we do only need this. Now the first question I have, is there a front and a back? I don't really think so, but that's fine. So what we are going to do is we are going to place these onto there like so. You'll see that there's 4 squares there with a hole in it, and on the bottom of the legs there's, in the middle, don't know how well you can see that, but there's a little notch in the bottom, and that's going to fit into there quite nicely. Right, so what we're going to do now is we need to pop in 8 screws, and those screws are going to line up with the screw holes in the bottom of the feet. Now one thing I've spotted, they have sellotaped this wire down, and the sellotape has actually gone over the screw hole, so that's not a problem. You can either lift the whole piece of sellotape up, but what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get a craft knife and I'm just going to cut around that screw hole. So there you can see I've just cut around the sellotape, and now I can't get that bit of sellotape out. There we go guys, so I've just freed up that hole there so the screw can go in freely. Right, so whatever order you do these in is completely up to you, and it's going to be 8 screws, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'll put the first screw in, and I'm going to go this one and then this one, because I like to go opposite. But I'm going to put the first screw in, and I would suggest that'll probably be the hardest one. And then once I've got that first screw in, I'll do the other screws all up until the last one. Sorry, I'll do the second screw as well, and then I'll do the rest of the screws speeded up, because do you really need to see me do all these screws? I think not. So my usual trick, I've put them in just enough to bite. They haven't gone in fully, and I can see that's lined up properly. And once you've got these two lined up, I'm going to do these two next, and it should line those up automatically for me. So I'll see you in a second, guys. Right, that is those 8 screws in, and the first 4 were really not any bother to get in, and the second 4 were even easier. Once those 4 are lined up, not a problem. So I just want to take a moment. I just want to discuss something. So on my gauntlet build, which I publish on a different day, I paid extra for the premium base. The reason I bought the premium base for the gauntlet was because I didn't see that it was flat on the bottom. I didn't want to just place it down. I didn't buy the premium base for the ET or the Robocop, because obviously it's got humanoid features, legs, and I thought it will hold up. One thing I found with the gauntlet was they do supply a base with the build, so I didn't need to buy the premium build base, other than the fact that it lights up and it's all fancy. I didn't buy the premium base for this. If I did buy the premium base, I may possibly be having a little bit of a whinge and saying, oh, you know, I've just wasted my money on this issue. I think the next 2 issues are going to be dealing with the base as well. So my personal opinion of this is I'm actually glad I didn't buy the premium base. I was never going to buy the base anyway, because this could stand up on its own. But I'd like to know your thoughts, guys. I think that base is quite satisfactory, and I think the only thing I'm not happy with is the fact that it's a little bit off center, and I wonder if once it's built up it might knock over. But you know, hopefully this has been tested. But look, guys, that is that stage done, stage 30. So I think we should move on to stage 31, and I think 31, you may possibly be as excited about it as I am. So let me just move this to one side so I should have cut all the bags open before I began this build. So there are some interesting pieces on this. So we have got piece number 1, a infrared sensor. Now infrared would suggest some kind of remote control. Isn't that what infrared is? It's like your TV remote. So are we going to get a remote control with this? I'm not speculating on that. The next piece we get, as you would expect, we get this lovely switch. Okay, turn it on and off. That's obvious. Now this is the bit that surprised me. A DC jack. So as you can clearly see from the base, it's going to be battery powered, but we also get a DC jack. Does that mean that we'll be able to run this from a power supply without having to go to an external source, for example, partwork upgrades? Because I know partwork upgrades will jump all over this if it didn't have a power supply, because that's one of the things that they do very well. So does that mean that we don't need to buy a DC jack? Is this the future of partworks? You know, rather than running everything off batteries, we're now going to start plugging them in. So if that's the case, fantastic. So waffling on, aren't I? And lastly, we have 2 screws, PTP screws. So they seem to be the plastic screws. Now guys, this build and another build, we don't get spare screws. What do you think to that? I'd be really interested to know your comments, because I'm very mixed with it. I don't have a habit of losing my screws, but I'm not saying I've never lost screws. Now, if I do ever lose a screw, I'm a little bit buggered, aren't I? But at the same time, let me see if I've got... Yeah, look. So this is 4 of the boxes for the Ecto 1. These are all the spare screws. I've meticulously kept them. Do I need all those screws? Oh, that's just fallen out. Where's that fallen out from? There you go. Look, I've lost the spare screws. Yeah, I'd like to know your thoughts on spare screws, guys. Right. So, with a fine tip marker, write B on the base platform connector 1, which is... With a fine tip marker, write a B on the base platform cable connector. So it's the one that came in here. So why do we need to write a B on it? Why could they not have given us a label? I am not going to write on my connectors. I am going to get a piece of masking tape, and then with a pen I will write on that. I think that's not good, you know. I have found a negative about the ET build, hey? What do you think, guys? Not labelling their wires. Right, so that is step 1 done. So we have to label the wire for them, for B. Right, so next we have to label our other wires. Oh, that's terrible, guys. So our switch is imaginatively labelled S. Who would have guessed that, guys? S for switch. I think I'll probably be removing these labels once I've assembled it. But right, so S. Top tip, guys: get a good pen, not one like mine. Right, and then this last one, which is the DC plug, that is going to be labelled. Are you ready for this? Can you guess what label it's going to need? Yep, you're right. It's label A. Right, okay. I mean, it's not a big moan that we have to provide our own labels, but I've never had to do that before. Right, so the next step with our DC plug, it's got a washer on, a bolt and nut. We just want to remove that. Now, they're telling us to remove it all the way. And they tell us to remove it all the way after I put a great big piece of masking tape on it. I don't know if it needs... Yeah, it will do, won't it? Right, so that's that removed. So the next step, on our base, we have got 2 holes on the side. One circle, one rectangle. So it's fairly obvious which holes they're going to go in. This is a circular hole. So that's going to go into there, like so. We'll push that in as far as we can. And then we're going to get our nut. And we're going to put it back on. So yes, we did have to completely remove it. Right, so we've got to tighten this nut up, and I'm thinking the easiest way to do it will actually be to hold the nut. Now, I actually don't have a spanner, so I'm going to make believe that I have put that on there properly. You guys know the truth. Oh no, it's going on. It's going on. Right, so the trouble with putting these metal bolts, metal nuts onto plastic is that sometimes they kind of go off a little bit skew. Right, so I'm only able to do that finger tight, but what I will do off camera, I'll find a spanner and I will put that on properly. So just pretend that that's on properly. The next one that we're going to put in is our switch, and look, the switch is a square shape, so that's going to go through the square hole, and I'm actually going to do it the way that the instructions do it. Right, let's just pop that in there. that doesn't want to pop in. Sometimes when parts are new. So you've got two little wings on the side. Do make sure they tuck in there properly. What's going to happen is as you push it in, the wings are going to go in. And once they clear the wall of the base, they'll pop out again. And that will hold that in. There we go. That's going in nicely. There you go. That's nice. Right. So obviously I've done it the way the instruction has done it, which is the on switch is pushing it away from the power switch. But I don't think it makes a difference. Right, and that is that issue, and we can begin to see that I think I made the observation that these legs have got holes in them. So obviously there's going to be some wiring going through there, and then we've got these wires here. So wire B is the power, the B for battery is going to send the power into the circuits, and then, or there's obviously going to be a circuit board somewhere, and I can see there's two holes there and two holes there, so that's probably going to be a battery. It's probably going to be a cable grip, yeah, and then somewhere along the lines there'll be a circuit board. So you've got your power switch coming in here. I would suggest maybe your battery and your power DC jack is going to go into the same place, and then you've got your switch, which will obviously stop the power from getting through, and then the rest does whatever it does. Right guys, that's it for this issue. Let's move on with issue 32, which is here. It's another larger looking issue, and I'm going to have to take a break at some point because I've got all my parts ready, but one of them has dropped onto the floor, so thankfully I've not undone the bags. So one time I'm glad I didn't undo the bags first. Right, so we've got quite a few little bags here. We have got piece number 1, the battery cover, so that's obviously going to go on top of the base. We have got 4 cable clips there, and then we have got 8 screws, 2, 4, 6, 8. Now they call these PTPC, and they're slightly smaller than the ones that we've been dealing with. I can't do a comparison because I've not got any spare screws. Oh, hang on. We've got those 2 screws. Let me go back and check issue 31, because I've got 2 spare screws. Right, okay, I think, let me just check these instructions. Yes, so we've got 2 screws left over from the previous issue, which will be used for this infrared sensor, which we're actually going to be doing in this stage. So they really probably should have given us that in, I mean, it doesn't make a difference because it's a pack, but I would like to have seen that in this issue, not in the previous one. Right, so make sure our pieces are nice and safe. We need to take our base, and we are looking for an odd looking hole there. You see that there's a hole in that corner, but there's not a hole in any other corners. That is for our infrared sensor, and that is going to go into there. There we go. It does fit okay, and that is going to be held in place with 2 screws. So you know what I'm going to say here, don't you? I'm going to put the first screw in. What's going on with my screwdriver? Right, I'm going to put the first screw in just enough to bite. Then we'll put the second screw in. Oh, I can't get my working angles properly, guys. Right, let's try this. There we go, that's better. This is one of the problems. I've said this before. Obviously, I need to work in a way that's comfortable for me, but quite often doing that means you can't see what I'm doing. So I have to kind of find a compromise. Right, so I was a little bit worried that by placing that infrared sensor in there, it might bend the wires, but it doesn't. It goes in there really nice. And that's what it looks like from there. So I find that quite interesting. But yeah, that's your infrared sensor. Right, so it doesn't say anything it does say about these wires. So these wires are going to be bent around here. You'll see you've got 2 channels there. So we need to pop that wire. Yes, so we need to pop that into there, and this end is going to go through that leg. And it should It should come out the top of the leg. There we go, we got there eventually. Right, so that's gone through. So obviously that's going to connect to wherever the circuit board is. So what we are going to do next, be careful, don't want to chop that wire off. So we're going to get 2 of our cable connectors, and we're going to clamp that wire down there. Okay, and you'll notice that you've got some holes in the cable clamps, but only on one side. You need to place them wire down. Now I don't know why I'm putting the second one on, because it's just going to jump off, and I think I'll do that second one speeded up. So as per normal, if I can, I'm going to just put the screw through the cable holder, and just don't have to hold it exactly right, but just get it in with a couple of screws. It's in there loose, and then what we'll do is we'll move that round. Oh, there we go, and pop that on properly. Then we'll finish that off with the second screw, and this screw can go in all the way. And then the first one, and that's in nice. Now I call this a cable clamp. It's actually a cable, they've called it a cable clip. It's more of a holder. As you see, that it doesn't clamp it down, it just stops the wires from pinging all over the place. And I would say that's a good move from them. You don't want to hold that tight. It means that when you pull the wires here, you'll get a little bit of movement, like, as you can see. And if you can see that wire moving as I pull it, so you want that little bit of movement. That's quite handy, so that you don't snap anything. Right guys, I'm going to do this next one there, speed it up. So there we go guys, that's that cable in place. So you see we've got that bit of movement, and that's going to be handy, because if you've done any part works before, you'll notice sometimes if you don't pull the wire tight enough, you don't get enough length on it. We don't know exactly where the circuit will be, but sometimes it can be too long. So this will just give us a little bit of room. If it's too long, we can pull some of that back, look, and that will reduce the length of that cable. If we need a bit more, we can just push through a bit more. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the design. I'm not going to say this is my best build ever, for the simple reason I did do that with another part work that has completely gone downhill. Right, that is where I'm going to have to stop, and then I'm going to have to do some parts looking for, because I've dropped them on the floor. I'll see you shortly for stage 32. Okay guys, I have just had a most stupid moment ever. So I'm looking for the parts for 32. I thought I'd dropped the bag on the floor. I've just hunted for them for about half an hour. I'm in the middle of stage 32. These are the parts. So why I think I've lost them, I have absolutely no idea. So we'll just pretend that never happened, even though I haven't edited it out of the video. but there you go. So we have placed that infrared sensor in there. The next step is to do the same but using these wires. So these need to come through like so, and that is exactly the same as the last part. I'm a little bit concerned. There's obviously wires going to be coming through there, but these wires go further through. But I'm going to trust the process, and I'm just going to go ahead and do it. But you've seen this stage there, so I'm not even going to do it live. I'm just going to do it speeded up, so you know what we're doing. I'll see you in a moment. So there we go, guys. There's our wires all clamped down. They're not clamped, they're a little bit loose, so they're held in place, but that looks nice and neat and organized. So yeah, that is almost the end of that stage. We have just one more little tiny thing to do, and that's this battery cover. So what we are going to do, we have two little tabs on this side, we have a little clip thing on this side. Two clips are going to go there, sorry, the clip there and the two little tabs are there, and that's just going to slot in like that, and that is that stage complete. So praises for it. Nice little build. The plastic is actually very strong. I say this a lot. I say metal where you need the strength, plastic where you need the detail, but actually we're getting a lot of strength from this plastic, which means it's going to be a little bit lighter. I know some people go on about metal, but do you really want a heavy piece of metal when some plastic will do? It's very neat, it's very well thought out. They do seem to be thinking about it. I am liking, I'm intrigued by this DC jack. So are we going to be able to power this from the mains? I don't know. I cannot confirm that. Just one tiny negative, having to sort our own labels out. That's a little bit funny, isn't it? But do you know what? I think they've looked at other parties. Well, I say I think. This gives me the impression they've looked at other part works in the past and gone, how can we make it just a little bit better? And then obviously the DC jack has done the job. And yeah, and I'm wondering if we get an infrared, if we get a remote control. Right guys, that is it for 2 more weeks. If you have watched this far, I thank you with all from the bottom of my heart. So we are now into August. The next issue will be in the end of August. I'm trying to organise what to do between the Robocop and the ET. I think at the moment I'm getting away with doing 3 issues of the ET every video, and 2 issues of the Robocop every 2 weeks, which has given me a 4-week month. That's quite handy because the packs do now seem to be coming out every 28 days. So that works out quite nice. I'm a little bit behind, as in the gap between building and actually releasing is quite long, which is handy because obviously if we get any delays, it then gives me the ability to split the ET from 3 issues to make 2 a month, to 2 issues to make 3 a month, or you know, I could go right up to 1 issue per video and make it 6. So I think I'll try and stick with this schedule because it can be slowed down and it can be speeded up a little bit. Right, so as you know, I can't tell you what's in the next pack, but this is what we've got so far. We've got the base. So don't forget, I asked the question about the premium base. Do you think the premium base is worth it? Do you think this is satisfactory? I personally, I'm not trying to skew the results here, but I'm quite happy with that. I wasn't expecting a base at all. So to have this base is a bonus for me. and as you can see, it's all starting to build up nice. I put that in, but it's not officially meant to be put in yet. And this is what we've got on the base side. So now I know what kind of footprint I need on my display. And there you go, that don't go in there too bad, does it? And yeah, so it's not looking like ET, but you can tell it's beginning to take that sort of shape. Right guys, that is it for me. I am now eagerly awaiting the next pack, and I hope to bring that to you in 2 weeks. Until then, have a wonderful time. Take care guys. Bye bye.